I don't mind doing it monthly.
Yeah, we don't mind that.
I would assume you probably wouldn't,
No.
but,
I would still probably come to the meeting, but
yeah, I mean, the financial management has been really solid, and, there are lots of things that we can spend time on, and I would feel satisfied with a monthly review. If things are not looking good, we can certainly change that at any time, but it would save
it was
you work,
actually
it would
a
save
board's
paperwork.
vote, so
Yeah.
7 years ago.
I'm fine with it if that's what the board wants to do.
I think it might make sense to have this discussion when Bill and
Sure.
Jay are here.
That's fine.
So maybe we can talk
Yep.
about that next
Yep.
time.
Sure.
I mean,
Right.
the one nice thing for having it, or the one argument for having it twice a month is that it does keep it at the forefront of everybody's mind, and it does, one could say that it helps with transparency,
Sure.
so,
Yeah.
but,
And the total bank balance is $1,617,778.
okay.
That was my last.
Are you going to start the graph again sometime
I
soon?
finished the graph until I have all the numbers for the adjustment.
Okay,
And we have some general fund accounting adjustments, so I
Okay.
have nothing to compare it with compared to this time last year, so. Probably in two more meetings that I'll have it.
okay, great,
It's great.
good, thank you. Okay, Tom?
This afternoon, Bill Hamlin sent me an email saying that he might not be able to attend this meeting, but wanted me to just throw this idea out to the board about, does the board want to do a resolution for Boothbay's 250th? We've done that for some other events that have happened, and that's coming up not too long.
I think that's a really nice idea, and the fact of the matter was that this was part of that town 250 years ago. So, I think it's great.
Sure.
Sure. I think that sounds like a good idea.
All right, well, since Bill's not here, I'll draft him to make sure that that works. Okay.
Well,
Right.
since it was his
Either
idea.
he or I, but okay.
So when would that have to be done?
Well, their celebration
There.
is the latter part of August, so we
Yeah.
can have
So
it-
the next
we can have
meeting.
it approved at the next meeting.
Next meeting?
Sure.
Good.
Okay. All right. I think it was last week I sent around a draft of a couple of revisions to the special amusement permit. Basically, it focuses in on outdoor amplified music, since we've had a few complaints on that this summer. I got some good suggestions back from people. The only changes that were asked to be put on here was to do a diagram of the area for where the outside entertainment would be. And the other one is, what is the distance to the nearest residence, dwelling, or lodging unit? If the board doesn't have any problem with those additions to it, I'd like to use this document going forward. So we might better be able to pick out if there's a band going in right next to somebody's house. Does anybody have a problem with that? Because we missed that at one point with Rock Tide.
So what are the hours there
Well, the hours-
different
the hours
than
are
what's
listed.
in the code?
The hours are listed here. The noise ordinance is listed here, and the applicant would sign that they have read it and are fully aware of
So
what
it's
the
basically
ordinance
a quote from the
Exactly.
code, which
Yep.
says
is. What
10
the-
o'clock?
It says, I certify I'm familiar with the codes of Boothbay Harbor, specifically Chapter 74 amusements, which limits the hours of amplified outdoor entertainment between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., and limits the hours of unamplified outdoor entertainment to be between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m., and Chapter 128, which requires all entertainment cease by 1 a.m.
And that's a permit strictly for businesses, is that right? So private parties
It
is
could be private.
different.
It could be a private party as well,
Yeah?
but it's primarily businesses. I mean, this is virtually all the bars that have bands. but-
Right.
In fact, we'll be reviewing one tonight
Right,
that used the old form.
Right,
right.
right.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, I mean, it doesn't require the board's approval for this, but I just want to make sure everybody was okay with it.
Yeah,
These,
just as long as it says approximate. I'm just trying to think of people, okay, now how am I measuring from here to
Right.
the nearest residence or whatever, just so they can give us an idea.
Yeah. Well, I think having the diagram here
Yeah.
would help too, because before it was just description of the area. Well, that could describe a 30 by 30 deck, but it doesn't tell you where it is.
Yeah.
So at least now it'd have a diagram, so, okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you for that follow-up, I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure, no problem. A few of us met to discuss EMA, was it last week, Nick? I think so. Because as you know, Scott Campbell is no longer our EMA director, which left us with a void as far as the regional EMA director. So we had representatives from Boothbay here, and I invited Southport as well, but they did not attend. But Nick and I are still working out the details on how to fill that position, which I think we'll have a plan for you fairly quickly on that. But in the meantime, there was a document drawn up for Boothbay and Southport explaining to them that we were withdrawing from that agreement since we could no longer provide regional EMA support. I've heard back from Boothbay. I haven't heard back from Southport yet. They also wrote a letter saying the same thing, that they would no longer be using the service. Southport has an EMA person, Boothbay does, so we're the only one at the moment that doesn't. We had the county down here too, Todd Hartung. Yeah. And we're not concerned that if there was an emergency tomorrow, we wouldn't all respond to it. I mean, everybody would, just as if we had one. But the most important thing about having someone designated as that is that first of all, would meet the requirement. Second of all, you have to have that person to fill out reimbursement forms if you have a storm and you submit a claim. So what Nick and I have talked about, we haven't solidified it yet, is I may actually be the EMA person in title to make sure that the paperwork gets all filled out. But in reality, the fire chief is the person who is directing most of the scenes, just like they do in Boothbay. Dickie Spofford is their EMA director. So it may turn out to be a situation where I, by title, am the EMA director, but Nick, as the deputy, would actually be the one actually implementing that. So that's what we're thinking about, but we haven't made any decisions on that yet. So I just wanted to be aware that that's what we've been talking about.
So at some point, is there a decision that,
I hope at the next
Needs
meeting
to
we'll
be
have
made.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to do anything tonight, but
okay,
So, Tom, just to clarify for me,
yeah.
the EMA position is a salaried position,
It's a stipend.
a
Yeah.
stipend
Yeah.
position.
Yeah.
So what would happen to that stipend?
Well, as it is right now, we budgeted for it, but it's not going anywhere. I
Okay,
mean, it's not being distributed to anyone.
all right. Oh, well, I'm just thinking about if we would have an emergency
Mhm.
and our fire chief is asked to then act functionally as the EMA director, that is additional duties. So I just want to have some consideration that we're asking people to take on an additional
Mhm.
responsibility and make sure that that's appropriately thought through with regard to either some type of compensation or stipend or whatever, if called into action or whatever seems most appropriate, because,
I think with this position, I mean, Nick by default is actually doing it anyway.
well, I realize that. so-
Yeah, but the only thing that would be changing would be who would be filling out paperwork, and that would be me.
All right.
So if you'd like to give me a stipend for that, I'd welcome that. But
Boy, I played right into that
yeah,
one,
that was
didn't I?
beautifully
Yeah.
done. Yeah, thank you.
Maybe not
Yeah.
necessary with salaried people.
Yeah,
like-
probably.
Well, no,
Going
not for
forward.
salaried people, but if you had someone filling that as needed as an emergency,
Sure.
I do think we should think that through, because that is, if there would be a real disaster,
Yep.
that can be significant work, and it can be days worth
Sure,
of work,
sure.
depending on, say, if a
A
tornado
lot of
came
work,
through
yes.
or something like
Right.
that. So I just want to make sure we're thinking through the ramifications of that, and I applaud you trying to be creative and do something in the absence of candidates that want to fulfill that position, so.
Okay, thank you. You probably will see ads in the paper soon, if not already, for replacing a police cruiser and replacing a public works truck. Those things we put in the capital improvement plan, and we budgeted for them each year. We obviously wait till July 1st comes around before we start proceeding with that. But so if you do see that, that's what that's in regards to. And think that's all I have for now.
Okay. Then I think we're going to move on to public hearings. We have several public hearings tonight. Do we want to take them one by one, or do we want to take them as a group?
I would move that unless there are any issues, either issues with the completion of the permit or issues with regard to, say, complaints against any of the establishments, we would take the three as a group. I would not put adopt the MMA GA ordinance in that grouping, so. So that would be the catering permit for the Cabot House, the victular license for Wanawap, and the special amusement for the Boothbay Lobster Wharf.
Okay. So you're moving that we take them as a group, and
Yes.
that we approve them as a group.
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second,
Okay. Any discussion?
is this two? Cabot House and the event?
Yes.
So you named
No, sorry,
three, I
it's
thought.
one, that's Cabot House is the licensee. The event is, that's the location.
I see.
Okay?
Okay, yep.
Any other questions?
No, but I hope for Laura and Jeff's sake in their wedding that we approve that. So. I'll be very disappointed. So.
All right, all in favor?
Sure.
Okay, those have been approved. All
So
right,
may I bring up my other point?
yes, you may.
Good. So I was, and this is really a point, both Tom, to you weighing in and the selectmen, that I was looking in the code book about our approval of these licenses, and there's nothing that says we need to approve these individually or in the manner that we do. So I'm wondering if we can develop a process of approving any license that is basically uncontested or does not have any issues associated with it as a consent agenda item, so that it is all done automatically in a bundle unless someone notifies you, I want to talk about this one, or the selectman says, let's pull this one out because I have a question. But, we only had a couple. There are times we spend lots of times going
Right.
over each one. I just, is there any reason that we have to do it that way, or can we get a little more efficiency by taking straightforward ones if no one's had any reservations and just, they're advertised in the paper, so people have a chance to have comment if they have concerns. So.
Right. The format of the way it's been done generally has just been the preference of the chairman. So, I mean, if you'd like to change that, that's fine, sure.
Well, I would
It's more
never
efficient.
second guess the preference of the chair. So,
No, that's fine. I think that the only thing is that as long as we, which they are, advertised on the agenda, we have been allowing people from the public to make comments on any given ones.
Sure, that would be my comment
Is that
as
what you were
well.
gonna say,
Yeah,
Frank?
Not necessarily to express opinion, because what matters is ordinance. But if they had information that was pertinent,
yes,
Yeah.
obviously.
as long as we can still interject that, I think it's a grand idea.
Yeah, and I think the mechanism would be, they're on the consent agenda. This is the time if any member of the public or any of the select people would like to take any one of these off the consent agenda to discuss it further detail. And that way we could focus on the one with the issue, and all the rest are pretty streamlined to be approved. It's a pretty standard practice to do things that are straightforward in that manner, so.
I like it. Yep.
Maybe we should ask members of the public if.
As long as the public still has an opportunity to line item on, again, with pertinent, information that is pertinent to it, not necessarily opinions or feelings, but as long as we still have an opportunity to comment on that, I think that's fine with me. Mike?
I agree. And we've been doing that in the past anyway,
Yeah.
as we've taken them as a group with the approval of the select board. So, great idea.
Sometimes, yeah.
Great, I'm all for efficiency, so we can spend our time on really important stuff, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, chair's prerogative, I'm happy to.
That's great.
Yeah.
All righty then. Then let's move on to adopting the new MMA General Assistance Ordinance, which is Appendix A. Tom, do you or Julia want to say anything about this? This is kind of an annual.
This is just a routine. In July, you'll adopt the Appendix A, and then again in October, you'll adopt the other appendixes. They just changed the overall maximum allowed.
Can I ask where we are in Appendix A? Because I read all this, I didn't find Boothbay Harbor or us in here.
We are
I have
actually-
Bangor, Penobscot County, Lewiston, Portland, York, Kittery, and Cumberland.
Well, if the copier and I were working efficiently, we would have, you would have had a back section.
Yeah, you would have gotten Lincoln County in there.
Right,
too.
so I can't approve because I haven't been able to see what Lincoln County is. So if you can get that and distribute it, I'm sure we can
Oh,
look
sure.
at it, so.
Is this the one where they talk about, to receive general assistance, you now have to provide?
No.
No.
These are just for the overall maximum allowed for Lincoln County
Have we gone
per
over that yet?
household.
The proof of citizenship, you gone over that one yet?
Not in my tenure here. This is really just looking at family household size and limits.
That began June
yeah.
16th.
These are the annual guidances that give Julia,
Okay.
tell Julia what.
I can get that other page, can you guys do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The page. Or they could approve it pending getting the page, yeah, because it will show
Did
us
I
on
give
there.
you, you
Right.
actually have the, old one. I apologize, that duplicate process.
There's a copy. Let's see.
Tom, do
I'll
you-
just go get it, then you guys can move on.
Tom, do you know what I'm speaking of, the proof of citizenship for?
Yeah.
That's something that, I know we went over at Boothbay, I just wanted to have one over here. if we
I
to.
actually have it out here if you want to. June 16th, we had to, begin getting the reimbursement forms for the, like, alien, we had
Yeah.
to say that we were going to give general assistance to unlawfully
Right,
citizens.
okay, so that's been covered.
It wasn't something I had to bring before the
Okay,
board
great, but
unless
it's been
they were going to
addressed.
take a position on it.
That's been addressed.
Well, I haven't addressed it with the board because
Because you got to do it.
you got to do it, right?
Okay.
In order to get the reimbursement back. If they wanted to take a position or the town manager wanted to take a
Okay.
position on it, then they would submit that.
Okay, so the policy, we're going by the policy because we have to do it.
We haven't changed anything
great.
besides,
Okay,
so I'll just go get mine.
Yeah, because I don't have that one.
Okay. Do you want to table
Okay,
this
let's-
until we get the data?
Yeah.
Sure,
let's do that.
I mean, I want to see our
If
data,
it's-
just,
Why don't we-
I think that's appropriate.
Why don't we table this for however many minutes
Right.
or hours it takes? Old business, does anybody have old business? Old business? No old business that you think of?
Nope.
Okay. Then we'll move on to new business. Old business?
Lots of the membership, so,
Well, we can talk about now, but I think we were going to talk about it down here.
okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
So new business. Chief Hosh. Good evening. Good evening. I think you are bringing an appointment to us. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Did you know you were going to have a speaking part tonight,
No, I
Bob?
didn't.
No.
Oh,
Surprise.
Straight off the cuff.
He does now.
As most of you know, Nick's worked here for
speaking.
several years and has done a very good job for us. He really has been close to full-time anyway for us, frankly, and my position is simply, we owe him a full-time job, he's interested, he's really determined this is what he loves to do, and we like having him. He does a good professional job with people, and he's a good representative for the department and the town, and proud to have him with us, and we'd like to bring him on full-time with your blessing.
I think it also helps just to remind people that this is backfilling a position where we've lost an officer due to retirement. So,
Yes, this is,
so we're not asking for an additional officer, it's just backfilling a position. So.
that's correct.
Right. So, did you actually have 2 vacant positions right now?
No, we have
Only
one.
one.
He's it.
Right, Tom Kriplowitz filled one of the other positions. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
And this position, even though there wasn't someone in it, was budgeted for full-time and benefits and so forth, so. And I agree completely. I think Nick's been a great reserve officer, great representative as a harbor master, and would be a great addition just to go full-time. So I would like to see Nick's recommendation be approved, appointment be approved, so.
So I think you need a motion to approve the appointment of Nick Upham to the position of full-time police officer.
And I will second that.
Okay.
So then, discussion.
Well.
So,
Yes.
Nick, you are a reserve officer now, is that right?
Yes, sir, I'm a reserve officer right now. I have been for the last 3 years.
Okay, but acting nearly full-time?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the expectation of a reserve officer as far as time goes?
There is a time,
Is there not a?
there is a time limit of 1,040 hours per year that a reserve can work, whereas a full-time officer is not limited.
Okay,
And a full-time position would be about 2,080 hours,
right,
double, so.
yeah. And you've got some other positions too, though.
Yes, I do.
A harbor master, right?
Yes.
And fire chief.
Yes.
How does all that fit together?
It's all being done, and I'm doing it right now, the same thing that I've been doing, I've been going right along, so it's, nothing right now is changing.
Right, but in fact, I think I just heard Chief Hosh say that the reserve officer works 1,040 hours in a year,
Yes.
which is half-time compared to a full-time job. Just stating the facts here. I'm all for appointing you
Oh, no, I understand.
to the year-round full-time position. So,
So
Yes,
what I'm thinking about is, we've been talking about management of emergencies, and is there a conflict potential there if you're on a fire call and there's a police emergency, or vice versa?
No,
How would we
when I'm
manage
working
that?
for the police department, I am a police officer first. My group of guys that are on the other side there, the firefighters and the assistant chiefs, they're more than able to deal with it if I'm not there. More times than not, on any type of big call or scene, I am gonna be there, one way or another, whether it's in this capacity or that. Mutual aid will be responding, so they'll have, everyone picks each other's brains on things like that.
Okay.
I mean, mutual aid is great for that, because you could have something as simple as, the fire chief could be in Brunswick at a Walmart or something when you have a fire. It's the same situation. Other people have to backfill. And so we have that currently, so this wouldn't change that.
I think
Okay.
there are some questions in my mind, because you've also been harbor master, and we're just about halfway through this summer, so I'm not really worrying about the rest of this summer, but for next year, I think that the issue that this brings up for me is that, one that we've actually talked about at other Board of Selectmen's meetings, albeit very briefly, and that is that we have, I think we have some vacancies on our volunteer positions, and it seems like we have some vacancies in some of our part-time positions. And I think it would better us as a town to figure out over the next few months how we can recruit more people, not only for our volunteer positions, but for our part-time paid positions as well. Because God forbid something happened to you.
Yeah.
Then we're all up the creek without a paddle, so to speak. And that would be a real concern to us, and it should be a concern to us from a safety perspective.
Right, and I think the chief has done a great job, and you've just attest, when you're on duty as a police officer, you are a police officer. And I think that that's an important enough job that it really deserves everyone's time and attention when you have that appointment, and not trying to be juggling too many things at once. I think that really induces more stress than we need to put on highly capable people, particularly the things that you have on your plate in terms of fire chief and everything else. So I think we want to be sensitive to not burning out really talented people by asking them to do 3 jobs, or part-time EMA or whatever that we were
Right,
talking about
exactly.
earlier, so I think there's not anybody that doesn't endorse adding you to the force as a full-time police officer, and I think we're all delighted because it's a wonderful addition to the force. Just want to make sure that we're looking appropriately at our other part-time positions to make sure the work burden is shared, so. I think it'd be late in the season to get a harbor master at this point, so I don't think we're suggesting that that would be something to implement now, but probably give us time for next year to think of
Think about it for next year.
a
Yeah.
person to take on that job, so.
Any other questions, discussion, or?
Comment from you, Nick, or,
No, I don't have any comments.
okay.
No? Well, should we take a vote?
Let's vote.
All in favor?
Oh.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Mike Tomko, 59 Rhodes End. I understand working full-time, 2,080 hours, that's 40 hours a week. So does that mean during the other 2 days of the week we won't have a harbor master? I'm just trying to do the math in my head. If there's one body, how does that body get divided up?
We have a deputy right now, so.
So we won't have
we're going to-
the
we'll-
full-time harbor master, we'll have the deputy step in?
No, everything that, the way it's been run so far this summer, it's gonna keep on going the way it's going. Everything's already in place and all set, as far as my time and where I am here, where I am there.
So what is that? How
I
does
don't
that?
understand I'm sorry, I'm probably pretty simple, but I just don't understand how the math works. If there's 7 days and, there's more than 8 hours in a day, just how that all,
You get more than one job.
I know that. That's how I
You're
work
already
with them.
sharing hours.
Yeah, look at it this way, he's already doing it as a
Right.
reserve. I mean, he works an awful lot of hours, but he's already doing it. So this is just changing his status, that's all. And, we'll relook at it at the end of the season and next spring and see if that's a plausible way to do it or if we have to make changes.
Sure. I just see him out on the harbor all the time. It's hard to imagine there being less Nick.
Yeah.
By being
Well, I think-
otherwise.
Well, you'll see him out there just as much, at least for this season.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
I'm comfortable with moving forward and appointing you as year-round full-time police officer. I think we need to review the other jobs this winter as we go through the planning and budgeting process.
Sure.
And I think the others, people I've spoken to or heard from, sensing feel the same way. So we're also concerned about, or I'll speak for myself. I'm also concerned about the police overtime budget, not only from a budget perspective, but from the amount of stress that being on overtime causes police officers who are doing that week in and week out. So kind of to Wendy's point
Yeah.
before,
Well,
we don't
particularly
want
in
to
the
burn
summer,
out people.
I think, where there's heightened
And the summer's,
chance of you all being called, so.
and the summer is when the town needs the full force, not part-time force. We can do without fewer people in the winter, perhaps, but not in the summer. So,
those are all conversations we've had, yep, so we'll keep having them.
yeah. Okay.
I think we're ready for a vote.
We're ready for a vote?
Yeah.
All in favor? Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Nick. Thanks
welcome
for the
to the
work
force.
that you do.
Yeah, yeah, congratulations, chief.
Now get back to work.
Which work? Yeah.
This work.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the other page.
I apologize.
Both of my copies don't have that page.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at that since we went to two-sided copies. Just
That's
so
all
you
right,
know.
I just was reaffirming
Yeah,
I
I'm glad
wasn't
you
crazy
did.
that I was missing it, so.
Trying to
there we
save
go.
a tree and then look what happens.
Yeah, there we
We get
go.
all the-
They talked about it for a long time.
Okay, so I'm still looking.
So on the back page, you will see Lincoln
Back
County under
page
the
is
non-metropolitan
Lincoln County.
areas. This is down to the very bottom.
Under
Oh,
Lincoln
oh,
County?
at the very
Yes.
bottom, okay.
You'll see the persons in household 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yep.
In October, you'll be approving C and D and all the other appendixes. This is for the overall maximum allowed per household, per persons in that household. It's set by state statute. We just have to approve it in order to use these ordinances.
Great, I'm happy to move it now that I have a chance to
My
review.
apologies for
Yeah.
that again.
Okay,
Is there a
so,
second?
is there a second?
Second,
Okay.
yes,
Have we had enough discussion on this?
we have.
All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, so moving on, public forum. Do we have any public forum items tonight? We have a small public tonight.
Small but dedicated group.
Yeah, we call it small but mighty.
Sure. Mike Tomko, 59 Road Bend. I'll mention that the comprehensive plan had the opportunity to have some of the committee members and our consultants give a brief interview with the Boothbay Register to provide some background for an article that's upcoming, and hopefully you'll see that in the next coming episodes of the Register. And there's also some potential talk about breaking down individual sections so that the townspeople can become more aware of what's in the comprehensive plan. Maybe an opportunity every month or so to highlight, this is what's talked about with future land use, here's about the economy, here's about public infrastructure and other things like that. Maybe to help build some of that excitement, enthusiasm that you're talking about in terms of committee membership and getting people to come out and support.
We're thinking of squishing it closer to the actual election once a week
Oh,
instead of once a month. We're thinking of condensing it a little bit. So
Under
it's
250 words, right?
probably under 200 if I can get it there, but just to keep it more fresh in people's mind.
great, great. So with that in mind, when the interview went on, we did talk a lot about the economy. The three areas that probably came to the surface most were water, future land use, and economic development. And I know all of you have spoken very strongly about economic development, so are looking forward to having your further analysis of the comp plan and seeing where things go with economic development, and possibly with having some type of position for that. I know Boothbay continues to be, and maybe Frank can give a bit more information about that, but Boothbay continues to be interested in some type of economic development individual or representative or committee.
Great.
Yeah, did you guys ever, because Tom wasn't here at the last meeting when we talked about economic development, did you guys ever go over with Tom your interest in exploring that you expressed at the last meeting?
I
Haven't
have,
done that.
yeah, no, I don't think.
Because I mentioned something to Boothbay, and then I think Boothbay mentioned something to Tom, and Tom had no idea about any of that. So if we want to get this ball rolling, we got to get it rolling. And that's going to start with, we got to share this information with the person who ideally would look, not that we're going to hold hands with them, but at least explore it. And I think we did talk about that, did we not, about regionalization? And
Yes,
Right.
actually.
Okay,
Actually,
so-
I think we have several things we've talked about that
Yeah.
we'd like to discuss with Boothbay, that being
Yeah.
one issue among several, so.
And I realize I
think-
move fast, but I'm at their meetings too, and so I brought it up and said, hey, would you, let's see what's going here, I'm going talking about it, and then poor Tom gets blindsided, not knowing, I guess, I mean, am I
Yeah,
correct?
he came up to me after our EMA meeting and said, I understand the two towns are going in on stuff together, and I said, not that I know of.
Yeah, well, that's not the way I put it, but, it
Yeah,
is.
I would
It's
say
not
that's
exactly
not
the
a
conversation
correct
went.
characterization,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, that's not the
yeah.
way I put it either,
Yeah.
so I mean, but, you know, if we can at least just start talking, I'm not saying that we need to hire anybody, I'm not saying we need to come up with committees, but I would think that we need to get somebody, if we're thinking about it, somebody from Boothbay talking to somebody from the harbor, and we need to let those people know that we want them to talk about it.
Well, if I recall, the gist, which were captured in the minutes, was that there were a number of things that we talked about that would be important to talk to Boothbay about. First of all, that they are doing their own plan. It would be great for us to know what each other are thinking about, and that the economic futures of our two towns are really tied together, so that we needed to have some interaction and conversations about how we take a more regional view of the section on economic development at a minimum. But I think there are also many issues in our comprehensive plan and the discussion That'd be very relevant to talk about as a two-town or at least peninsula strategy
Right.
versus just one town, taking an individualized approach. So I think that was captured in the minutes of our discussion.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think
Yeah.
captured in my speech, if you want to call it that, my comments, was that now's the time. Now's the time because we're both towns are talking about ratifying their get voting on their comprehensive plans. And I just don't want that to, like I said, if people are willing to talk right now is the time before things are voted on. And I guess I move fast, I know, and I just don't want this to get away from us. Because, it took us, 20 years to do a comprehensive plan, and I don't want to wait that long again.
Sure.
We will,
Good.
Some sort of powwow would be good.
what's that?
Some sort of powwow.
Right,
would be good.
right, yeah. We will
Okay, great.
find a time to
Yay.
make that happen.
Yep, I'll be quiet for 2 weeks.
Well, thanks for that encouragement, so.
I think that does it. So we are going to move into an executive session tonight under MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, number 4056, personnel, and also C, publicly held property, and D, labor contracts. So if you all would like to leave the room and go. And we are out of our executive session, where things were discussed, but no decisions were made.
I have a motion
Okay?
based on our conversation to accept the agreed-upon contract with the police department.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor of agreeing to the police union contract? All in favor?
Favor.
Motion carries?
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, I see we have one new member in the public. We've had our public session already, but since we have one new member, and Frank, who raised his hand.
Yeah, just asking.
Yeah, absolutely.
We needed 5 of us here to talk about grouping up our permits and, our victuals license, our catering permits, our special
Okay.
amusement. You wanted 5
Yeah.
people to talk about that, but we voted on a police union contract with only 3. It would seem to me if we were, I don't even have any opinion on it. You're voting on whether to accept the police union contract, and there's 2 selectmen missing, right?
Yes, but we're following, according to at least my understanding of the procedure, when 2 people are absent, if we are all in unanimous agreement with only 3 members here, then the motion is approved.
Okay, that's fine. I just find it curious that we don't, and I'm not judging you, but I find it curious that we don't vote on, Wendy, you were talking about grouping the permits?
Yes, we voted
did.
on those, though.
We did vote on
We
that.
I know, but then you talked about always doing that, and you said that you wanted, Denise, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you said we should wait till all the members are here before we change that procedure.
No, she was asked, said that about the financials, changing the financials.
Right, I'm sorry, yes, the
every 2
financial,
weeks,
yes.
Because I think Bill was so instrumental probably in helping develop the standard format of the financials, if I remember correctly.
Okay, and that's fine. I just find it curious that we want to wait for that, but we have a big thing like the police union contract. I would think that's pretty important too, and I would think just based on.
It is important, and we are trying to expedite things so that the employees would receive updated wages as per their request, because we are agreeing to their offer.
And I would say that these are not de novo conversations. We've talked about all of the union contracts over the span of months. And so it's not as if this is a new issue. It is really the most contemporaneous developments that we've spent a lot of time discussing, so.
I'm sure you have. I guess I just would like to put on a record then that I would be more comfortable if all 5 of you were here to do that. And it's not my meeting, And it's not my town to run, it's what we hire you guys to do. But if we're gonna wait for 5 to talk about changing the way that we do our financials, I would feel more comfortable waiting for 5 to do a union contract, but that's where I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, I would say that waiting for 5 was a courtesy deferral and not a decision deferral. But since 3 members of select people on a 5-member board would carry the majority,
Oh,
that's
I
the rule. So,
Fully understand that.
yeah.
Great. Okay. Your opinion is duly noted.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Any comments tonight? No? Okay. Then we'll move to warrants. Do we have a motion to approve the warrants?
So
I
move.
Move that we approve the warrants upon careful review.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll second
All in-
that.
All right, all in favor?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. That motion is not debatable. All in favor? Thank you.
And thank you all for attending.